like I told you yesterday, I'll just quickly refresh that and then we'll continue further. Okay. So, like if you can see in our rule here, we have applications of DNS, Google, Ping, SSL, web browsing being allowed. Okay. So what you can see here is like if I go to the Win2, if I open any website like which uses SSL, or if I open even Google, because we have allowed Google base. So if we allow, if you go to google.com, okay, it works, right? Now, see, if I try to suppose go for something which has its own app ID, like suppose if I search for Gmail, if I try to go for Gmail, okay, so Gmail doesn't open, right? Because we have not allowed Gmail base. Okay. Now, what do you learn from this? Okay. What you learn from this is that once you enable app ID, okay, for any application, in security policies, when you enable app ID for any application, it becomes activated for all the applications that it understands. Means it's not like Gmail will be considered in web browsing till we add Gmail base. No, since app ID can identify Gmail, its traffic will never be considered in SSL and web browsing if you have activated app ID in some security policy. We also sometimes say it like this, that when you enable app ID, you activate app ID for all the applications, or sometimes people like to call it as like app ID is always on for all the applications once you start using it. Okay, that means that if you try to access anything, okay, which doesn't have an app ID, then it's going to open fine using SSL or web browsing depending upon HTTP or HTTPS. But if there is something that has its own app ID, like suppose this, okay, Facebook will not open. Okay, we can search for Facebook because this is till here, this is all Google. Okay, but as soon as you try to open facebook.com, it's not going to open. No, sometimes this uh, even this page can be a little confusing, especially for the end user. He might think, okay, maybe my internet is broken or something, like it's internet is not working, or they open a ticket, something like that. So in order for telling them properly, like, we have restricted you to access to this, what you can do is you can go to the device page. Here we have an option of response pages. Okay. In the response page, you see there is a various response pages for various different things. Okay. But currently we are concerned about this application block page. Okay. If I click on here and if you see the action here, it's disabled. Okay. If you click on here, you can import a custom page, HTML based page, with your company logo and everything if you want that. Okay. Or else there is a predefined page that they have for you to display. Okay. If you click on this action, you can enable this. Most of them are enabled. It's just that there are just these two which you have to enable if you want them. Okay. This one we'll look at a later stage. But all of these response pages, sometimes you might be feeling like I want to modify it and I want to make it more like custom, maybe having company logos and some custom messages. Okay, then you can edit them here. Okay, most of them you see they are activated by default. There's no action even to disable. Okay. So I'll comment this. We have URL filtering as well. In URL filtering, you can have filtering for all the websites. App ID is not for websites actually. Okay, it's a thing for various applications. See, some of them are not really websites. I'll show you. Like if you uh, like suppose you talk about Netflix. Okay, now this is not just website based thing. Okay, like suppose if I open Netflix base, you will be able to open Netflix.com. But if I don't open Netflix streaming, then you will not be able to watch the you know videos there. Yeah, yeah, that's cruel actually. I feel like this. Yeah. So yeah, no, like they have even one for video. I think for newer one, they have one for video as well. So you can be very granular in restricting all that. Okay. I hope you are not learning all these things to bypass. Okay. I tell people, like, if you really want to be cruel to people, uh, allow them Facebook base access. Okay. Block Facebook apps, chat, and all these other things, voice, video, everything. You know what is going to happen then? You will be able to open Facebook, see people's text based status, not able to see video based postings and all, or voice based postings. So I feel like that's cruel. It's better not to give access of a website like this. Like similarly, like Netflix, why are you giving access of letting the person opening a website? Like this is really like a cruel minded network engineer. He wants you to allow to open the website but doesn't want you to use it for whatever the intended. Obviously it's like somebody is opening Netflix. It's not just for uh, checking out what content is there, right? You want to watch it. Anyways, let's go here. You have to specifically block that application. I'll just clone this rule, that will be easier. And then here we can add Facebook base. Okay, we could do similar thing for other. Okay, whole of Gmail. Sometimes this issue is there because of these old updates. Yeah, I don't want it to open, but I want you. I want to show you the response page. Okay, it looks something like this. Okay, so I guess in your college, if you have Palo Alto, you might have seen some things like this. Do you see blog pages like this? Yeah. Sometimes it can be other firewall as well. So okay, now if you look at adding these, if you want to add many applications, okay, it can become irritating to have this long list. Like suppose you have 20 applications in one rule, it becomes very long. Like you see, everything is fine except like. So what you can do is like you have application groups, okay, and if you look at this, you can create a group in which whatever applications you want to be added, you can add. Like common apps, I'll say suppose SSL. Okay, DNS, withdraw, and maybe even add Google to it. Okay. So once you create this application group, instead of mentioning these applications individually, you could go here I'll delete this. I'll add the application group. Okay, same way I added the application. It's just that how do you know that this is an application? You see this icon is a little bit now like a folder with the application in it. So that's application group. So sometimes it looks more nice with something like this. Okay. So I hope you got like what is an application group. Okay. Simple group of applications. Okay. Now in this you individually select these applications. Okay. And sometimes you might not want to go for individual selection. You just want to maybe go for a selection based on these category, subcategory, technology, and these risk factors. Then you can have application filter. Okay. Now don't think that application filter means it's for blocking only. Okay. A lot of times students start thinking, okay, application filter is for blocking, application group is for allowing. No, nothing like that. What I'm trying to say is application filter is just like again uh, making a kind of application group. It's just that you cannot individually select application. Like if you see, I'll go to application filter and add new. If you see, you can give again a name. Okay, give it some name. Now you cannot individually, you can individually select, but like you cannot add like mostly you don't do it like this or this. You can what you can do is you can directly say like, okay, suppose I don't want any gaming related stuff to be allowed. Okay, whether it is which server, Call of Duty, or whether somebody plays FIFA, we don't want to allow. Okay, so all the applications that it understands for gaming, okay, you can use this. Click OK. Now see, once you make the filter, since I have selected subcategory as gaming, I've already selected 63 applications. Okay. Now it does not necessarily mean that these applications will be blocked. Okay. It depends on my security policy. If I go to security policy rule whose action is allow, and I add this filter, then you are not actually blocking it, you are actually allowing it. So filter is just to select it. Okay, make a selection, but not based on individual selection. Make a selection based on this category, subcategory, risk factor, technology, these kind of things. Okay, once you do that, it's up to the security policy in which you are going to mention it, whether you want to allow it or block it. Okay, fine. So like if you see this currently, okay, the rule which we have basically allowed all the Call of Duty and everything. Okay, fine. Okay, let's not comment that. Not required to test that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's all under the monitor tab. Okay, like in even in ACC tab it's done. Like here you can see like the application usage, okay, user activity, destination IP activity, source IP activity, source region, destination region, and which thing is using how much from the last hour, last 30 days. So this ACC and monitor tab won't work here until you have license. Okay, so I'll show you this in the license firewall when I boot it up. Okay, currently I'm trying to show you most of the practicals without the unlicensed, with the unlicensed firewall, because I want you to have a feel like you can do most of the practicals, okay, with without license. Okay, I don't want you to feel like if you're trying to do uh, practicals, you feel like okay, I cannot do this or that. Maximum things you can do without license. So these things are like not working without license. And personally, I feel like they should have allowed it. Okay, um, because they are already restricting you without license. They are restricting you to for a session count of 1248. Okay, that's two less sessions for anybody to be legitimately using this firewall in a production environment. Okay, but that's their wish. They don't want to allow these things without me. I'll look at it. I'll show you later. Okay, so response page can be displayed for blocked web application in user browser. Okay. Also, if you have, while we are on the topic of application groups and filters, you can make application filters and put them in application groups as well. Like, see, suppose I go to this application group and the filter that we created, if I just go here and search for filter, okay, you can add application filter in an application group. Okay, fine. But you cannot do it vice versa. You cannot add an application group in an application filter. Okay, application filters can go in application group, and then you can have application groups or application mentioned in the security policy rule. Okay. So if you look at this, we have application filter, which is a dynamic group of applications. Okay, created by selecting filters in the app ID database, like you select uh, category, subcategory, and these things. And you can use it to simplify security and QS and all these different things where app ID is supported. Then you have application groups, which we just saw, in which you statically define which applications you want to add. Okay, used for similar purpose as application filter, but these are two different things. Okay, so also what I want to show you here is like when you add these in the security policy. Okay, notice the destination icon. Okay, like filter has this funnel like thing. Okay, but why I'm making you notice this? Okay, I found a lot of questions in the certification exam. uh, I'm not saying like exactly the same question, but if you look at suppose I give you this screenshot. Okay, suppose I take a snip and in a question I give you this screenshot. Okay, and I ask you uh, my filter here. Now obviously the filter name says that it is filter, but not necessarily, right? You can make an application group and give it filter. But suppose I ask you like common apps is an application group, common apps is an application filter, and I've given you the screenshot. Until you really pay attention to these icons, you won't be able to answer these sort of questions. Okay, so for certification exam, that's why I'm telling you like you, because they can't check your knowledge by giving you access of Palo Alto and making you configure some security rules. So what they do oftenly is they'll give you these screenshots where they don't show you exactly, they don't highlight like, okay, you have to look at here in order to know it. Okay, and if you pay close attention, this is what is application group and this is application filter. You can answer it from the screenshot. So sometimes even when I went for the exam, I was like, what how am I supposed to tell you this without getting access of uh, firewall? Like uh, I got a question and I was like, if you give me access of firewall, okay, I'm going to go to objects, check with which of them is an application group, which of them is a filter. But sometimes what I mean is like you will feel like as if the question is not right, but they would have given you the answer to that in that scenario. Okay, so that's why I'm saying like while doing exams, look at them closely. Okay, uh, we discussed this already. Like you can put applications in a security policy directly. You can put applications in an application group. You can also put application group in another application. Okay. So nesting of application groups can work. Okay, and then you can put that in the security policy. Not a problem. Okay. Similarly, if you see, you can put take application filter, put it in an application group, and put it in a security policy, or you can directly apply application filters into security policy. Okay. But application group to filters, no, can't be done, right? So again, these kind of questions can come in the certification exam. Okay, we can add applications to application group or application filter. So the best way to have all these permutations and combinations of these things was to make this diagrammatically. Okay, nesting of application groups and filters can be done. Okay, so filter can be added to group, group can be added to another group. Fine. So that's the app ID operation. Okay, like how it works. So check whether the traffic belongs to that certain application. So initially you check IP and port number. Okay, then you do a security policy check, and if it has app ID, okay, then it depends on whether there is decryption enabled or not. Like I told you yesterday, that we can have SSL decryption, because of which what we can do is like we can decrypt the content which is going through HTTPS or some other uh, encrypted mechanism. Generally, people will not use SSH commonly to send something malicious, but still they can be used. We'll discuss this more during decryption. Okay. So it depends on what the decryption policy says. If the decryption policy says that decrypt the content, then you decrypt the content and make it go through the app ID again. Okay, fine. And moreover, once it has gone through the application signature, you identify traffic. Okay, if you have identified the traffic, no decoding required. You apply the policy accordingly. Okay, like if it is allowed, allow it. If it is blocked, block it. If it is not known, then what you can do is you can decode it. Okay, using a decoder. it basically checks for tunnel traffic, okay, and it will use its signatures to cross check whether the traffic, like maybe we are trying to tunnel something in order to avoid the firewall, okay. So then the decoders detect it, and again it depends on uh, all policy. Fine. And if the protocol decoder, it doesn't work with that, then it applies some heuristics. Okay. Think of a heuristics as, the general behavioral uh, behavior of an application. Okay. And commonly, if you are talking about a video based application, okay, uh, it will be bursty, it will have video content, and now see, I don't want to go into the technical details of it, because that will take me into collaboration. But the point is, like, Palo Alto understands that this is video based traffic, so based on those algorithms uh, of heuristics, it can figure out, like, okay, this must be this application if the URL is this. What I mean is, like, it does not necessarily need to go and really look at the decrypted content. Okay, without decryption also it can figure out based on the behavior of application. Like I'll give you an example. Like, suppose if you talk about two people using VoIP to maybe make a call. Okay, like suppose we are making a WhatsApp voice call. Okay, now for voice there are small packets. Okay, and small, I mean, like in generally, it's like 80 to 100 bytes of content and then just header. So consider it as like a stream of packets, suppose roughly like a 500 bytes. Okay, less than 500 bytes. So if it finds that a stream of packets is going with each packet having less than 500 bytes, it can figure out that there must be some audio getting through the firewall. So this is what I mean by, like, the general behavior. Okay, this is what helps them to detect whether this is uh, a particular application or not. Okay. Now, one more thing, like, if you look at this, suppose we don't have app ID for everything, right? We App ID will be there only for common applications. Okay. So suppose if you talk about, traffic that is allowed. Okay. If it is identifiable by app ID, not a problem. Then you can directly identify whether it is TFTP, FTP, SMTP, web browsing, etc. Okay. Yeah. But if it is not identifiable by app ID, okay, then it will check whether there is HTTP involved or not. Okay, like suppose I open imeditor.com. Okay, now there is no app ID for imeditor.com, or if I open cisco.com, there's no app ID for that. Okay, so what it checks, okay, is there HTTP involved? Okay, if yes, then it will consider that as web browsing application. Okay, so like I told you that imeditor.com or cisco.com, they'll be considered in web browsing. Okay, or SSL, depending upon HTTP or HTTPS. But suppose if it doesn't detect HTTP, if it finds that, okay, the traffic is not HTTP based, something else. Okay, then it's going to check the traffic log and add the log entries as unknown TCP, unknown UDP. Now, unknown TCP and unknown UDP doesn't mean that the firewall couldn't see it. Okay, it means that the firewall couldn't identify it with any of the app ID, and also the traffic was not from web browser. Okay, so if you see in the traffic log, something have an unknown TCP UDP, that means that was not identified by. Okay, next let's talk about uh, identifying unknown applications. Like, okay, now this is a recommendation, like from Palo Alto, that if you want to make rules for applications, okay, what you should do is, like, sometimes it will be very difficult to know it all in the beginning. Okay, so it is recommended that what you should do is, like, make a rule, okay, uh, and have all the um, applications in it which you know for sure that people will require. Like, suppose I understand that people will require Google. Okay, then I'll add Google base. Okay, for this I know. Okay, so you can add the known good apps. Okay, but for the applications that you don't know about, okay, what you can do is you can make a general rule and allow them in the beginning. Okay, keep that rule there for like 30 days or so, to figure out that we need to uh, check it further whether we want to allow it or not allow it. Okay, this is for people who are deploying it for the initial time. Like, let me show you how what I mean. Okay, so see, it's like this. Um, you create rules to allow or block applications known to be traversing. Like I was telling you that I know that, Google is there. I know there is some other application like that. Okay, but then you can create a temporary rule. This is a recommendation from Palo Alto. Whether to follow it or not, it's up to you. Okay, create a temporary rule to detect unknown applications that are traversing the network. Okay, as applications are identified and as you know more and more about what kind of things people are using, then you can make permanent rules to allow them or block them depending upon what kind of application. Okay, like if you look at this, there is known good apps here. Okay, in which you can see that we have some application groups where we have added the applications which I want to allow. Then there will be some applications which you want to block, like maybe we'll say Netflix, block it. Okay, we don't want people watching movies and get entertainment office. Okay, so you can have known good, known bad. Okay, then if you look at this third rule, okay, unspecified apps, the apps that will not match first rule or second rule will match the third rule. And you see here we have any, so we are allowing everything. But the point of this rule is to log everything. So in this rule, you will have log at session start and session end. Benefit of that is, from the logs in some days you can figure out, okay, what you want to allow, what you want to block, and then you can allow those applications in known good and known bad, depending upon what you want. Okay, and once we have done this for sufficient number of days, we can remove this rule number 3. Okay, I hope you got what I So you can see the logs graphic. Okay, fine. Now, let me show you how to customize these applications. Some things can be customized, not like you can add your own applications. And so suppose, I feel like modifying risk factor for an application. Like suppose I search for Skype, and Skype has a risk factor of 5. Okay, and then I feel like if I click on this, I feel like this is too hard on Skype. Maybe I want to customize this for risk factor. You can decide a risk factor. This will be for you. Okay, so you customize this. Okay, uh, again revert. We'll bring it back. Okay. Also, you can add tags to it. Okay, if you remember, we had created some tags. Okay, so you can add those tags by clicking edit. Okay. Moreover, what you can customize here is you have the option to configure timeouts for. Okay, sometimes people, maybe they'll try to utilize some application, but you want it to be timed out after a certain time. Okay, like maybe you don't want to wait for this much seconds for timing out TCP applications, TCP based things for Skype, then you can time out it faster. Okay, uh, so these are those things. Okay, and also we can add applications else. Like if you see there is an option to add. Okay, now see, the effectiveness of adding the application depends directly on how much information you are telling the firewall about it. Okay, if you're not telling much and just doing it based on port numbers, uh, then it's of no use. Okay, but if you really tell all of this information, if you see, like suppose we have our own some application. Okay, maybe we use it internally within our organization. Uh, let's say we use it to give some access to students. Okay, you can put it in a risk factor category, subcategory, and everything. Like suppose I'm just saying, like maybe it's a browser based application that we give access to people. Okay, and now you see you can select a parent application. Okay, what the parent application selecting means is, like suppose I know that this application utilizes web browsing. Okay, then I can add this here. Now you might feel like, okay, why don't we just consider directly web browsing? See, maybe we have something custom in it. Okay, like I can define a port number. Okay, maybe I allow it to access through web browsing, but we use a different port for this. Okay, I'm just saying, like maybe the port number is 888. Okay, you can specify the timeouts. Okay, you can also six, like whether what kind of things does it have. Okay, does it is it evasive? Also, in advanced, you can see that whether you want to scan this application for file types, which I said for file blocking, we can have like which file type we allow or which type we don't allow. We can scan it for viruses, uh, data patterns. So I'll show you this when we discuss the security profiles. Okay, we are going to discuss this later. So when I discuss here, I'll tell you more about this. But the point here is like these checkboxes are just like whether you want to really check it for viruses, file types, or like that. Okay. Suppose I say I want to check it for viruses. Okay. Now, you see, this is what I wanted to say you when I was telling you the signature thing. Okay. You can have these add, operator, pattern, and lot of conditions, but most of the times people are not comfortable. Network engineers are not comfortable, I'll say, uh, in order to define all of that. Okay, no problem. If you don't want to do that, you can just click OK, and you have your valid code. Okay, sorry, we had selected web browsing here, so we'll have to keep port number 8080. Okay. Student invalid default port 88888 is invalid. Why? Okay, sorry. I think we need to specify TCP. This will work fine. Yeah. Okay. So now we have made this custom application. Okay. So you can utilize it in the security policies just like other applications. Okay. Okay. And next, let's talk about something like application override. Okay. This is another thing which might be required in certain scenarios. Okay. Now, see, when I defined application, okay, when you define a custom application, we defined all of these things. Okay, but sometimes you want an application to be identified by based on what source zone, what destination zone uh, it is going to come and go from. Okay, like suppose I'm just taking an example. Like suppose we have some this browser based application. Okay, the student app access, but I know that for this thing to be this application, the traffic will come from outside zone and it will go to the DMZ zone. I'm just saying, like, okay, suppose in order to identify traffic for this application, I want to be more granular that this application take all of this in consideration, but only if it goes from outside to DMZ zone. Now, these things cannot be specified here. That thing you can specify in the application override. Okay, like I'll show you. See, you can add here. The point here is like suppose in order to identify whatever application we had, we'll say this zone, okay, destination zone, this server, and suppose I know for sure that the IP there will be whatever, like I'm just saying randomly, that's this IP. And here I can specify the port number. Now, since we have specified the port number in the application, you don't need to do it again. You can leave it blank and select your custom application. Okay. Now see what you have done here. When you defined those, when you defined that application, okay, there you didn't select the, uh, the source, destination. You couldn't select application based on these things, right? You just have the criteria of port number and all that, okay, and you can mention it here as well, okay, the same port number. The benefit of this is, now if there is the traffic for this type of thing which is sourcing from outside zone going to DMZ zone, then that particular traffic will be considered to be a part of student app access. Okay, are you getting my point? Like, this is a more granular way of selecting traffic of certain application, because that's a custom application. Okay, now you might say like, okay, whether I want to allow it or not, is it always allowed? Okay, that depends on the security policy. Okay, so like, I'll give you an example. Suppose I want this application in my environment. Okay, in my company environment, we have this application. Then first step is you create a custom application. Okay, in which you define um, those category, technology, respective, and all that. Second, you create a application override. Okay, why we call it an application override? Because suppose you don't create this. Okay, uh, you cannot specify source zone, destination zone, and these address and specific things, because our company has this custom application hosted on this server. Okay, so application override actually helps in identifying the traffic for this application, but with source zone, destination IP, these kind of criteria. Okay, now question comes whether I want to allow or not. For that you have to create a security policy. Okay, once you create a security policy, that is when you decide whether I want to allow application access or not allow, because that's not decided based on application override. Application override is just a way to select custom applications for your organization. Okay, if you don't create this and if you don't create this, then you will have to create, then this will be considered in unknown TCP, right? We don't want that. Are you getting my point? Why we are creating application override? Because this can be a little confusing in beginning. Okay, see, for unknown applications, whether they are considered as unknown TCP or unknown UDP or web browsing, okay, if these three are there, then you can configure an application override policy. Okay, and based on that you can have that traffic considered in a custom application. Okay, or you could use a custom application to directly select that unknown TCP UDP traffic in that custom application. Okay, or you could combine these two together to consider traffic for a particular application. Okay. Now, next thing is about dynamic updates. Okay. If you go to device here, okay, and before this, make sure you have proper DNS servers configured in the firewall. Okay. If you have proper DNS servers configured, you can go to device dynamic updates. Here, if you click check now, okay, not showing here. I think again because of the license issue. Okay, you know what? Just wait a second. I'll boot up that license firewall just to show you this option. Okay, this is the other firewall. It might take like a minute or two. Okay, so this firewall is licensed one. And if you go to device, dynamic update, once you click check now here, you can see that all these app ID related things are shown. Like, okay, it shows you the versions of app ID. Okay, and then it further shows you the date related to that. Okay, when was this released? Okay, so if you talk about the latest one, I think that is, I think I have check now. So date wise, what's the date today? 26. So you can order it by date. Okay. So the last app ID updates, okay, were on 22nd. Okay, like I told you, these updates come weekly. Okay, so what you see here is like this update, and it's very easy to download and install. If you click here, you can click on download. The size of the file is 42 MB, so it will take some time. It's not necessary again to just keep it like that. You can just close it, and it will complete the task of downloading. Also, if you want to clear up and delete some old content ID, I mean app ID images, you can delete them. Okay. Suppose I don't want to use it. Okay. This symbol shows that its download is in progress. Okay. Now, for app ID, you can schedule. Right? If you click here, you can decide like whether you want it to be done automatically. Like maybe I say on Wednesday every day, on every Wednesday weekly at this much time, I want to download. Instead of download, you could also say download and install. Okay. Now, see, sometimes it can uh, rarely, but it can be problematic in certain situations if you click download and install. Okay. Why I'm saying that is a lot of people still keep it download and install. Like that's what follow the recommend. Okay, but it's up to you. Why I'm saying that download and install can create problems. So imagine this. Suppose there is some application which was considered into web browsing. Okay, like right now it's considered web browsing, and because a lot of people are using that application, what Palo Alto does, they create a rule, okay, or they create an app ID for it. Okay, now once they create the app ID for it, what is going to happen is, if you download and install that app ID, now that application will not be considered in web browsing. It will be considered that app ID which was created by them. Okay, so if you have downloaded and installed, it could be problematic because maybe the new app ID name, whatever XYZ name that they have given to the app ID, that name might not be in your security policy rule to allow it or deny it based on whatever you want it. Okay, so although you can uh, still keep download and install, it's very rare. Okay, that you will encounter this kind of problem, but that can be one scenario. Okay, so what we have is download and install. Now also you can say like, okay, I want to disable new apps in the content update. Okay, whatever new applications come in. Okay, which new applications have come in any particular app ID update depends on the release notes. You can check the release notes. If you click on here, it will take you to Palo Alto website and show you the release notes for this particular application. Like you see here, there is no new app ID being created, but in some of the release notes, I'll just go back. See, if you see, look at this 8275. There are these applications, okay, which were not considered earlier by app ID, but now they are. Okay, so this was on 20th of May. Sorry, not 18th of May, 2020. So 18th of May 2020, they released that we have these new applications. Okay, uh, before this they were not considered. Okay, sometimes they also modify applications. Like if you see, uh, earlier maybe Azure Log Analytics was not there. It was considered SSL and web browsing. Okay, so suppose we are using Azure Log Analytics in our scenario. If we don't read the release notes, it could be problematic as because earlier what was considered uh, might not want to be allowed now. Okay, similarly, if you see TeamViewer, okay, TeamViewer was unknown TCP, unknown UDP. Now TeamViewer has a application, okay, app ID for it. Fine. So check the release notes. Also, like I was telling you that you can have the action download and install. You have this threshold option. Okay. Now, what is threshold option? Okay. You can mention the hours after which the app ID, new app IDs will be considered. Okay. Like suppose you have downloaded and installed. You don't every day look at what kind of new app IDs are being released. So what you can do is you can mention a threshold, like suppose I say 336 hours, okay, and this is for a content update, okay, and we can also have one for new app IDs. Okay, so what happens is, like, suppose like I was telling you, uh, TeamViewer was released on 18th of May. Okay, now suppose on 18th of May, even if my firewall downloads and installs it, okay, it is going to wait 336 hours and consider TeamViewer still in unknown, that TCP earlier, I think it was unknown TCP, till 336 hours. So 336 hours are like almost, 15 days. I think 14, 15 days. Okay. 14 days. Okay. So that much time you can have, or you can use to read, assess the new app IDs, check out the release notes and assess it. Okay. Also, you see there are some other dynamic updates. I'll not going to come to this page again. So you see, for VPN, okay, we can have updates. Okay, for wildfire even we can have updates. Okay, and you can have them scheduled here as well. Okay, fine. Okay. Now that update that we just downloaded, it was just downloaded. So I'll click on install to continue installation of that app ID update. Okay. So from the Palo Alto Cloud App ID database, you can get updates every week. Okay. You can schedule them for download or schedule them for download and install. Okay. This is a screenshot for that same configuration. Okay. Uh, you can get questions in the certification exam regarding dynamic updates and regarding them asking questions like how frequently are app ID updates issued, how frequently are wildfire updates issued. So, this dynamic update, you should remember, like, okay, if they ask you for antivirus every 24 hours, for applications weekly, okay, for wildfire they say every 5 minutes. Now actually it's every minute now. Okay. So this is just to show you, like, what to check the release notes, how if you don't have access of this. Okay. Next we have content ID. Okay. And if you want, I can begin with it tomorrow with a fresh mind. Okay. Because what I will recommend to you to read here is, like, from app ID section of PANOS admin guide. Okay, today in free time, go to this app ID part, okay, and start reading it from here. Okay. What is app ID? how does app ID inspect traffic? Okay, this is what I was discussing, managing custom or unknown applications. You can have those custom application, and why do you need application override? So read it from here. Okay, managing new and modified app ID. Also, you'll find these screenshots of detailed information about different applications. And app ID with stuff like this content ID, what happened with this, that. So uh, spend some time reading this. Right? Okay, that's why I'm asking like whether you are comfortable for a fresh topic or not. If you're not comfortable, I'll begin this content ID part.
We can do it from tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
we will go through it and like we can start from tomorrow.
Yeah. And I'll show you this part as well. Like like I was saying, monitor. Okay. Now obviously this firewall just booted, so it doesn't have a lot of logs, but I'll just show you some old traffic logs. Okay. So like I was telling you that monitor ACC these tabs, they show you like you see here last 30 days, right? What kind of traffic has gone through. Now this is all application usage like Firefox is updated, software updates have happened, uh, SSL, web browsing, Google base. Okay. You can also have user activity based, like who used how much. Okay. So which destinations has the traffic gone to? Okay. What were the source regions and what were the destination regions? Okay. Where did the traffic go to? Okay. Which rule usage? Okay. And also you can export this output of them, like to go to monitor. No, here it doesn't show you, but no, I'm not really sure whether this will have a lot of data because this was powered off for quite a while. But you see here, if you go to monitor under the report, sometimes your manager might ask you like, I want a report based on traffic. Okay, like which security rules are being used, how much. So you can have this here. Okay, if you click uh, security rules and you can say like on May 2020 till this date. Okay, and you can export it to a PDF or CSV format or XML depending upon how they want it. If you click on export to PDF, it's going to give you a Okay, that's about- okay. I'll have to check. Hmm? No, the problem is like I'll have to allow pop-up and browsers getting updated day by day. The options go here and there. It allows you to basically download these kind of reports like source, source countries, uh, destination. Maybe your manager asks you for a report. You can click on this. Export to PDF. Edit blog code here. So suppose I uncheck this for now. Let's export. Okay, see the file is allowed now. So if you see this report, okay, you can just directly send it to your manager and tell him maybe it took me 5-7 hours to build this report for you, whereas you just opened it. Okay. Make sure your manager doesn't know Palo Alto. If he knows the monitor tab completely, then he'll be like, okay, you're screwed then. So these kind of reports can be generated. Okay. You can explore the options in reports. So rest content ID will start tomorrow. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, then I'll end the meeting.